Hello, everyone, and welcome to WWJPS. I am your host, Vanessa Pinto. Did you know that the government just handed the keys to our food supply to Palantir?
Palantir Technologies just announced a $300 million deal with the United States Department of Agriculture to help manage farmland using advanced data and AI tools. This move comes at a time when global tensions and trade conflicts are making it harder for farmers to stay profitable and keep supply chains stable. Many American farmers are already dealing with rising costs, especially for fuel and fertilizer, partly due to international conflicts and trade issues with countries like China. These challenges can affect food prices and availability across the United States, meaning everyday Americans could feel the impact at the grocery store. The deal also reflects growing concern about foreign ownership of U.S. farmland and how that could affect national security. Officials hope that better data tracking will help protect American resources. At the same time, Palantir, led by CEO Alex Karp, continues to expand its role in government, though the company has faced criticism over privacy concerns. Some investors, like Michael Burry, even argue the company is overvalued. Overall, this partnership shows how technology, agriculture, and national security are becoming more connected, and how those changes could directly affect Americans' daily lives. But what do you guys think? Do you think using advanced tech...
What I think is, no wonder Alex Karp penned a 22-point manifesto essentially telling everyone that he is God with all of the contract that he's gotten from our government. Why wouldn't he think that? So yes, on April 22nd, a $300 million contract was signed to put every farm, every crop, and every one farmer, one file into a digital ledger. They call it food security, but we've seen this playbook before. From the secret banking meeting at Jekyll Island to the Trilateral Commission's plan for a new world order, the goal has always been the same. If you control the food and the money, you control the people. Today, the digital cage is officially closing on the American farmer. As you may have guessed it, we are discussing not only what this contract means, but where we're going. And again, how are the elites, the people that actually run the world, what is it that they're planning for us? Because it's all here. It's been recorded for us. We just don't know their language. And you'll say, what on earth is Jekyll Island, Vanessa? Well, we kind of have to start back at the beginning to know how we got to a 300 for a contract for food with Palantir. You see, the way the world is run is not by politics. It's run by people with all the money. So we're talking about the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the central banks, all of it. And they've had an agenda for us forever. So let's talk about that for a second.
A secret meeting of influential U.S. bankers and politicians on Jekyll Island to hash out a plan for reforming the nation's entire financial system. At a secluded resort on Jekyll Island, Aldrich gathered the country's leading financiers. Among them were Paul Warburg, the future architect of the Fed, Henry Davison, the right-hand man of banker J.P. Morgan, and Frank Vanderlip, president of one of the largest banks of the era, National City Bank. Under the guise of a duck hunting trip, these 6 powerful men spent 10 days drafting a plan to reform the U.S. banking system. Specifically, they designed a central bank, which the states didn't have at the time. In 1910, he organized...
And I hear you when you say, but Vanessa, that was a really long time ago. I mean, what, they would do that again? They've been doing it, actually, right in front of us. What do you think the UN, the Trilateral Commission, and all of the things, the Davos, the Bilderberg Group, all of those special financial meetings that we see on the news, but we have no idea what they're about? It's basically, it's the continuation of Jekyll Island. But let me explain a little differently. I bet you didn't think you were going to see Jeffrey Epstein on the screen when I talked about the Trilateral Commission. Let's let Jeffrey Epstein explain it, because he seems to be involved in everything in the world, from the Rockefellers to the Rothschilds. Let's see what he has to say.
And leadership. What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is some spooky stuff. People said it was some of the people that, the Illuminati, there's some mystery about it, people that ran the world. It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this trilateral commission.
Now are you understanding why Alex Karp, why the billionaires, why all of those people feel the way that they do? Because they've been told that they rule the world, and they have been ruling the world. And now they want to get a whole lot darker with it.
Of businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians. So he said to me, would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission? Now, I was 32 years old. I said, great. And he said, well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio. And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker, every great leader in America, the Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like to have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid.
Just a good kid. Jeffrey Epstein, the man who peddled in trafficking, who eats children and worships Baal along with the world's elite, who now we find out is on a committee with the Rockefellers, who rule the world. He also does business with the Rothschilds, who rule the world and are part of all of this, because these people don't care what type of human being you are. It doesn't matter. You can be a murderer, rapist, you can be a pedophile, as long as you go along with the narrative. The narrative is very important.
Trilateral Commission, an elite organization uniting American, European, and Japanese leaders, according to founding documents. David Rockefeller established this group in 1973. Rockefeller, chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank, wanted closer cooperation between major democracies. Zbigniew Brzezinski, who became Carter's national security advisor, helped design the structure. The name references 3 regions: North America, Europe, and Japan. Approximately 350 members include former presidents, prime ministers, and corporate leaders. Jimmy Carter was member before becoming president in 1976. His administration filled positions with commission members, fueling conspiracy theories. Bill Clinton joined before his presidency, as did George H.W. Bush. The commission meets annually in different cities with strict confidentiality rules. Discussions focus on international economics, energy policy, and strategic cooperation. Critics argue the group promotes globalism over national interests. They claim it advances corporate agenda through government influence. The Commission publishes reports recommending policy changes to member governments. Many recommendations later become actual legislation or executive decisions. Skeptics note this demonstrates how unelected elites shape democratic governance. Members include central bankers, making monetary policy decisions affecting billions. Media executives belonging to the Commission rarely report on its activities. This creates information blackout despite the organization's significant influence.
See how that works? They control everything, the media. And what are we watching right now with the media? It's being consolidated even more. The Ellisons, which Larry Ellison was, Oracle was his thing, which was developed by the CIA, and Larry Ellison took it over and uses it to, harness all of our data. Then, and then we go now to the tech billionaires who Mark Zuckerberg, who DARPA actually created Facebook, which is, again, another way to track us. What he did is introduce it in a way that we were like, yeah, I'm going to put all of my information and my birthdays and my everything on here so everyone can see. Little did we know what was going on. Now we've got Palantir, who is another organization working with the Central Intelligence Agency. So when they say people, what did they just say? Central banks, other people with interest, the Rockefellers, and definitely the Central Intelligence Agency.
Protesters view the Trilateral Commission as shadow world government. They connect it with CFR and Bilderberg in coordinated globalist conspiracy. Supporters claim it simply facilitates dialogue between democratic powers. They argue cooperation prevents conflicts and promotes prosperity. The organization operates transparently compared to Bilderberg, publishing membership lists. However, meeting discussions remain confidential. preventing public scrutiny of elite policy coordination, whether beneficial cooperation or undemocratic control.
It seems to me that there's a very strong drift in the direction of globalization, of the ultimate centralization of control in the hands of unelected officials at supranational organizations. The lust to control other human beings is a story as old as time.
They want all of the resources of the world in their pocket. They do not want you and me to have anything. It's in writing all over the World Economic Forum's website. By 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. That's an oxymoron. If you don't have anything in your name, you ain't going to be happy about it.
The World Economic Forum may have called that infamous phrase a prediction, but it translates as a statement of intent on behalf of its global power brokers.
The bigger picture is that an attempt is underway now to collapse liberal democracy and replace it with global technocracy. What I call an omni-war is now underway, which is to say that the transnational ruling class is literally, it's not a metaphor, is literally at war with the rest of humanity and has weaponized everything that it can.
This is a coup. They can remove the power from the parliament and the legislative branch and consolidate it into a monetary system which has complete control.
That control is now entirely achievable because the would-be controllers finally have the tools to execute it.
Enter AI, enter the techno-billionaires. This is what takes us into the 2030 agenda, which once again, was it given to us by any of our politicians? No. It's a world order, right? A new world order. And all of these countries are suddenly obligating us to do it. But it is up to each country's sovereignty, and it's not obligatory as of yet. But if we cross that bridge, we're not going to be able to uncross it. Now, we're going to go back to the past again for a moment. Now, to prove to you that this has been many, many years in the making, we're going to go back to 1995 to a man who started blowing the whistle on all of these secret power brokers who are not elected, who control everything. And what he says pretty much mirrors what's going on today. So how on earth could someone from 1995 be able to predict this? Bill Cooper's, and that's what we're going to get to in just one moment, but I wanted to give you a little background. His entire purpose was to let everyone know what's going on because he felt that the world should have a choice. So everyone calls him a conspiracy theorist, which, by the way, was made up by the CIA after JFK so people would stop asking questions. It's the best way to say that people are crazy. So this man took it upon himself to let us know that, no, this has been here for hundreds of years. He's not a psychic. Instead of paying attention to politics, he went further. So he lets us know that George Washington was a Freemason member, actually, and that the Freemasons are kind of what guide our Constitution and our politics. Let me let him explain a bit more.
We'll just devolve everything into a state of chaos, and out of that we will bring order to them. And what their agenda is, you'll never know. You could read this and never know what this guy's saying. Oh, that sounds nice. That's what most people say. Oh, that sounds nice. Doesn't it sound nice in a way? But if you really understand, it's not nice at all. What they're saying is, screw you, we're going to enslave you. We're going to engineer how you live, how you think, how you work, everything.
You've probably heard of the World Economic Forum. Their 2030 scenarios are all over the news, predictions about how technology and geopolitics will reshape the global economy. But here's what they don't tell you. The WEF is just the face, the visible tip. Beneath it are older, more powerful, far more secretive organizations. The Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. These aren't theories, they're real. Their memberships are published, and year after year, what they propose quietly becomes policy. The 2030 Agenda, the Great Reset, the reshaping of global governance. It's not random, it's a blueprint. There's a pattern here, a hierarchy. The WEF sets the narrative, but the CFR and the Trilateral Commission, they set the strategy. They've been planning decades ahead, while most of us have been watching sports and scrolling through our phones. Cooper pointed this out 30 years ago. He said they speak in code, and if you don't study them, you'll never understand what's really happening.
Here's what
He's absolutely not wrong, and especially now with being in law school, it's amazing how much is hidden in our words. Are powerful, powerful things. The more words you know and their meaning, it is incredible the things that you see of what's being said, right?
Here's also what he says on page 9. Now, if you don't understand the ordo ab chaos technique, order out of chaos. By the way, that's the motto of the 32nd degree of Freemasonry. Ordo ab chaos. We'll just devolve everything into a state of chaos, and out of that, we will bring order to the world the way we want it. And everybody will get down on their knees and thank us for restoring order and security to their lives. And they will be willing to give up anything to us for that favor. Quote, in the United States today, as in many other countries, the collection of second and third waves creates social tensions, dangerous conflicts, and strange new political wave fronts that cut across the usual divisions of class, race, sex, or party. All the old polarizations and coalitions break up. End quote.
Doesn't it kind of sound like what we're doing right now? Just in this country, they've dismantled the Department of Education. They have now said that children are being run by the Department of Labor. They're very quickly going to change the age of working to make it lower, and possibly the age to lower consent so that pedophilia is not a thing anymore. Quite sure that they're up to that as well. But what this tells you is, how does this man in 1995, how is he able to speak about exactly what is happening right now? Look at COVID. They created chaos. They created a pandemic in order to steal from us, actually.
We are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens.
We are shifting to a new financial system, but the general population is not shifting to a new financial system. It's shifting to a control grid.
The difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations.
What did he just say? The central banks will have total control. So now let's go back to Jekyll Island. They've had control. They have no intention of losing it. And what does this show you? That I'm literally showing you everything that's happening in the world from every corner of the world, and it's backing up this entire theory.
With rules, we don't need currency anymore. And so it's no longer a financial system or a currency system. It's purely a digital concentration camp. It's a slavery system.
When Catherine Austin Fitts talks, we should listen. She's a former high-level investment banker in New York and held senior office in the first Bush administration in Washington.
Carlson, the reason she speaks out is because she feels very guilty about what she witnessed and what she participated in. And that is why she's spilling all the secrets.
Maybe 1,000 models of how it could work. But essentially, you will have, whether it's a banking account or a credit card, and it can be turned off and on. So my incentive system is not you go to work and work hard and you get money. My incentive system can be based on how you behaved in the last 5 minutes.
I have to think, how fucked up are these people? That's all it is. It's just control. They have so much money, it doesn't matter. And by the way, there is no climate change. They've been fucking with our weather for a minute. And again, they created it in order to create a problem. So now we're going to go back to my COVID thing, right? Because I did say that they developed COVID to trick us. It was for a few things, but it was definitely engineered and planned. And it allowed them to do some things. Because you notice how people keep saying everything changed after COVID. Well, think back to COVID, right? what were we allowed to do? Only it was essential businesses that were allowed to run. We weren't allowed to go to the store. We weren't allowed in the very beginning, right? And all the small businesses who weren't essential had to shutter down. And so the corporations got even wealthier during COVID because they shut down the middle class's way of making money. And think about it. After COVID, people have been struggling like they didn't struggle prior. And now with the agenda of 2030, they've now created more desperation. Keep them desperate. And like he said, and then they'll welcome whatever we give them.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I say again that taken together and the Paris Climate Agreement provide humanity with a master plan for a sustainable way of life on this planet.
New York City, late September 2024. The setting for the United Nations Summit of the Future, a gathering of member nations to reinforce and accelerate Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs.
And hunger. Address inequality. Protect our planet and build a life of dignity for all.
It appears to be a noble and ambitious program for a perfect world. And who could argue with those aspirations? But critics insist the goals are not what they seem. Alex Newman is a journalist and broadcaster who's been investigating the issue for 15 years. He has his own way of interpreting the rhetoric.
You have to learn to speak what I call UNEs. You have to know what the terms mean if you want to truly understand what is being discussed. When they talk about peacekeeping forces or the peacekeeping role of the United Nations, they're actually talking about the war-making capabilities of the United Nations. So you have this Orwellian doublespeak. When they talk about transparency, more often than not, they're talking about eliminating your privacy. Human rights is another very, very good example. They make very clear in this document that your rights can be restricted under the guise of public order or morality or whatever the case may be.
And again, realize, you can look all of this up. They put it in print for us. All of this is written down.
So they're saying, here's your rights, but by the way, they're not really rights. We can revoke them at any time. The UN is filled with contradictions like this. Like, for example, when they talk about gender equality, right? A normal person in the Western world thinks gender equality means a woman has a right to earn money, to own property, to have all the rights and privileges that a man would have. When you look at the individuals who lead this movement within the UN, you're talking about radical feminists. You're talking about people who are very interested in dissolving the nuclear family. As you dig into these goals, it's very clear we're dealing with something far more nefarious. Once you look past the marketing slogans, the kind of warm and fuzzy, we're going to end hunger, which again is just window dressing, you realize that this is actually a blank check for totalitarian global control.
Author and campaigner, the late Rosa Koire, called out the plan more than a decade ago.
It is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals.
So now that I say this, do you think that the tariffs with China and all of our farmers losing their land was by accident? Or do you think that was how they presented it so that they could strip most of our farmers of their land? Some of them have committed suicide. Others have just gone bankrupt. They're going to buy those for pennies on the dollar, which is why I started this back at the USDA. They want to control everything, every part of everything. We can't own anything because then we wouldn't need them, and they need us to need them.
All construction, all information, all energy, all means of production, and all human beings in the world.
What can be measured can be managed and ultimately monetized. In fact, a study at Yale University has calculated that the natural assets of the world are worth $5 quadrillion. Is this the basis of the new world monetary system? And is it the deep underlying reason for the United Nations project to rewild 50% of the Earth by 2050.
At the time that they were going to create a new international economic order. It was all over the literature. The goal of the new international economic order was not to get richer in the sense of money. They knew even back then that eventually the fiat currency system of the world was going to disintegrate. So the goal became to actually capture the physical resources of the world. All wealth historically has come out. Everything that they could possibly take away from the nation states of the world and from private individuals of the world and stuff it into the global common trust where they would administrate it and they would be the ones getting licenses for the resources to turn around and make stuff.
The financial kingpins have long seen themselves as masters of the universe.
Oh, they all think they're masters of the universe. If you've made it this far, drop a black heart in the comments section. Now, if the benchmarks for 2030 are met as choreographed, we aren't just looking at a shift in policy, we are witnessing the final sunset of individual sovereignty. By the end of this decade, the merger of the Jekyll Island financial architecture with the trilateral vision of global technocracy will be complete. When our food supply, our currencies, and our very identities are managed by a singular algorithmic ledger, the concept of a private life becomes a historical relic. We will have moved from a society of citizens to a managed population within a digital enclosure, where the exit doors aren't just locked, they've been erased with code.
Bank. Is Agenda 2030 the defining act for complete control? And how significant was the global response to COVID-19?
As the world builds back from COVID-19, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make investments that will strengthen the economy and improve public health, and fight climate change for generations to come.
One might ask why the UN needs a multi-billionaire finance and media player as a special envoy, or why Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, who called for a new global monetary system, is the UN's special envoy for climate action and finance. And then there's Larry Fink, the boss of BlackRock, the world's largest asset management company. He's a...
And for those of you who do not know, now we enter BlackRock, which is owned by the Rothschilds.
Board member of the World Economic Forum, and as we'll see, has driven the UN's goals through investment strategies for the past 20 years. All three are principles of the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, a partnership with the UN. With the green economy worth trillions to corporations and investors alike, it's hard not to see a conflict of interests. Are the bankers raising money to achieve United Nations goals? Or are the goals a Trojan horse to change the world's financial control systems? Now consider the events at Jackson Hole, Wyoming in August 2019, only 3 months before the COVID outbreak. It's when Mark Carney delivered his call for change, and BlackRock proposed a new financial mechanism, Going Direct, which in principle allows central banks to channel capital direct to large corporations.
So the central bankers got together in 2019, the G7 central bankers, and voted on the Going Direct Reset. And the Going Direct Reset, of which the COVID operation was part of it, has done a phenomenally excellent job of massively consolidating capital into central control. If you look at the COVID operation from a financial standpoint, it was absolutely clear that it was one way you balance the books. It worked.
The major corporations like Amazon and others were allowed to continue business. Meanwhile, other businesses, particularly small and medium-sized entities, were deemed to be, quote, inessential. Many of them were put out of business. And so what we saw was a global wealth transfer of a reported $3.3 trillion.
And now, so what was the point of COVID? 1, to see if they could do it. 2, to inject us with God only knows what they injected us with. 3, to steal everything from the middle class, because think about it. as I've always said, the middle class has always been the issue for these people, because the middle class can actually critically think and can actually say, you know what, I don't really think this is a good idea. And so they're trying to eradicate us, which they pretty much have. How many people went completely bankrupt during COVID? And now these are the people that tell us we won't own anything and we'll be happy. Do you think we'll be happy? Let me know in the comments.